Hello and welcome. On the news track tonight, there's no election, no Israel, Hamas, Gaza. We're focusing squarely on cricket because that's the only thing that's consuming 1 billion plus people across the country. And the question I'm asking tonight, is this the strongest Indian team ever? No Indian team has dominated opponents in quite the way that Rohit Sharma's team has so far. So we'll have cricket experts join us. We look at different teams from the past and we'll ask whether this is the most formidable Indian team ever. That's my top focus on the news track. All of India is counting down to 2 p.m. Sunday, and the question I'm asking on the news track is this. Is the Rohit Sharma 11 of 2023 the strongest Indian team ever? The manner in which the boys in blue have dominated opponents is something which cricket fans haven't seen. So I've got with me on this show cricket experts, pundits, cricketers who've seen Indian cricket over the decades. They've covered the sport passionately and intensely, and they'll give us a sense of how this particular team compares with Indian teams in the past. I want to go across to Sunil Gavaskar first, because as we count down to Sunday, a lot of fans, Mr. Gavaskar, are convinced that this is the strongest Indian team ever. We haven't seen Indian teams dominate opponents in the way that this team has in the past 10 months, in the past 10 matches. You've seen so many Indian teams in the last several decades. Do you think this truly is India's strongest team ever?
Well, I mean, firstly, I don't believe in comparisons. Comparisons are futile because you're looking at different playing conditions. You're playing overseas. You're playing at home. You're looking at ball changes. In the old days there was only one ball used for 50 overs. Now there are two new balls used from either end. There is no restriction on bouncers in the earlier days. Now there is restriction on the bouncers. The equipment has changed. The boundaries have been brought in. So all those factors, make it a little different. So suffice it to say that this is probably one of India's best ever teams that we are seeing, and we as cricket followers and former cricketers are absolutely delighted to see the way they are playing.
What's changed in the past few weeks after the Asia Cup? Because before that, this team wasn't generating the kind of confidence it is at this moment. There were quite a few lackadaisical average performances. It seemed that this team didn't really have the mojo required to win the World Cup. That seems to have changed. They're now dominating opponents in the way that fans can only dream of. What do you think changed between earlier and now?
I think the Asia Cup win, which was a fantastic win, when you look at how they dealt with Pakistan, how they dealt with Sri Lanka in the finals, how they played against Afghanistan and Bangladesh, it just tells you that this team was looking to peak at the right time. And immediately after the Asia Cup was over, they had 3 matches against the Australians, and then after that to come and play in this tournament, they were ready. They were absolutely ready. Earlier on, you probably entered a tournament without having too much of match practice behind you. Now they have got so much of match practice, they're totally ready. And it's a very well-balanced team. There are guys who are at the peak of their powers. There are guys who are reaching the peak of their powers. So it is a team which is well, I wouldn't be surprised if on Sunday Rohit Sharma lifts that cup.
Fantastic. But earlier teams used to be dependent typically on that one mega star, Sunil Gavaskar, Kapil Dev, say Sachin Tendulkar. The interesting thing about this team is that you've got all the players playing particular roles and looking like they're in form. So you don't have one player carrying the burden of 1 billion people like Sachin used to. How do you think that's changed? Because even the likes of Shreyas Iyer, who was not at least at the international level quite as heralded, has scored successive centuries. Except for Surya Kumar Yadav, everyone seems to have come to the party so far.
Well, Surya Kumar Yadav hasn't had too many opportunities. He comes into bat in the dying stages of the innings, so he can't really do much in that. But you're right. I think this is a team where everybody with the bat is contributing, everybody with the ball is contributing. The spoils are shared, if one might use that word, and they're shared almost equally. And that is the reason why this team seems to be such a happy team. This team, you've got to see them practice. You've got to see them warm up. While there's a sense of purpose in the warm up, there is also a sense of fun. So they're looking at this sport as, looking at all these matches as sport. As school kids, we want to play sport. And that is exactly, they look like school kids, top-class school kids who are out there having fun while they're representing the country.
In the British press, in Pakistan and some other places, there's been a lot of carping that this World Cup organization is being bent to suit India's requirements. Whether it's the manner in which the pitches are being changed at the last moment, the whole tournament is being organized, the scheduling of the matches, it's all done in a way ki jiski lathi uski bhais. Do you think that there is a disproportionate home advantage that India is exercising because of its financial muscle in the governance of global cricket?
Baseless, absolutely baseless allegation. This is what is called sour grapes. Your teams haven't done well, and therefore you are now trying to point a finger. If your teams were good enough, and that is what World Cups are all about. If you're good enough to win the World Cup, you should be able to, counter everything that is thrown at you. So the Indian team is doing it. The Australian team is doing it despite having started badly. So the top two teams are there. Whatever these critics have to say doesn't really matter. I don't think the Indian team is even bothered. I don't think most of former Indian cricketers are even concerned. I speak my mind because I firmly believe that anybody who points a finger at my country deserves, a slap in the face, and that's what I'm trying to do by sometimes, on television. So that's exactly what I will do. Maybe some of the others will just shrug and ignore, but not me.
Let's spend a moment on our opponents, the Aussies. They seemed quite down and out when this tournament started. After that, they've recovered quite convincingly. They had a tight finish against the South Africans. How do you rate India's chances realistically against the five-time world champions who got a lot of exposure at the knockout stages and who seem to know how to come to the party on the big occasion?
Well, that will be really a great contest. I think it'll be a great finals, India versus Australia, because Australia are 5 times champions. They know exactly how to play finals. They know how to deal with tough situations, as we've seen the other day against Afghanistan, where they were down, completely down and out. Glenn Maxwell played the innings of this century, one-day innings of this century, scoring a double hundred. So the Australians certainly know how to bounce back. So this is not going to be an easy game, but I do believe that the way the Indians have been playing, that they might just have a little bit of an edge. But like we all know with cricket, 1 or 2 hours can change the complexion. But I do believe that we are in for a great finals.
In the last World Cup as well, till the semi-finals, India seemed quite dominant. Later, so much was written about the 15 minutes of madness when we lost wickets in quick succession and could never really recover from there. If you were advising the team in the dressing room at this moment, what would you tell them to guard against a potential 15 minutes of madness which could wreck the chances, the luck and the mood of 1.4 billion people?
I think you've got to show just a little bit of caution when that is happening. But that is not likely to happen in India. Those conditions of 15 minutes were well suited for New Zealand's bowling attack. Conditions were overcast. There was just a hint of rain. The ball was swinging and seaming quite madly over there. And because of the fact that India had discarded its number 4 batter, hadn't picked him in the squad, it meant that there were lots of number 4 batters who were tried during that tournament. And with the kind of form that the top 3 had at that time, Rohit Sharma, Shikhar Dhawan and Virat Kohli, they were batting for most of the 50 overs. So the number 4 had to come and slam the ball around. Now suddenly in the semi-final, when India lost 3 wickets, that number 4 had no idea how to build an innings, how to repair the innings, and that's how India lost the plot.
You said at the beginning that this is a very balanced team, but if you had to look and pick one player who stands out in India's journey so far, without whose contribution we wouldn't have reached where we have, who's that one player you appreciate the most in this tournament? Who's the one person you're looking out for come Sunday?
It is because everybody's contributed so well. So it's a little bit tough to answer that question. But I'll stick my neck out and say Rohit Sharma, the captain, because he's led from the front. He's shown how to get after an attack. He's made the path easy for those coming after him. And then in tough situations, like against New Zealand in the semi-finals, when that partnership was taking place between Kane Williamson and Daryl Mitchell, the calmness that he showed was the reason why the Indian team never seemed to have panic. Their shoulders would never drop because he was around to ensure that those panic signs didn't come out at all. So for me, I think for all this performance, for the way the team has bonded together, Rohit Sharma deserves the highest credit.
Sunil Gavaskar for joining us. Thank you very much. All the best for Sunday. Thank you, sir. Question